Hello, I'm Danielle Dupuis, coming to you with our virtual newscast from Humber College. It's Thursday, June 24th. Here's what's making news. Canadians for weeks have been tracking the race between COVID-19 variants and vaccinations. This week, Ontario's daily case count for new infections was below 300 for 4 straight days, the lowest daily rates in more than 9 months. Test positivity rates also dipped to 1.2, marking another record low since last September. The province's accelerated vaccine rollout has now hit a new milestone. 76.5% of adults over 18 have had their first dose, and 27.5% are now fully vaccinated. With that, Ontario is well ahead of target thresholds required to move into the third and final step of the province's road to reopen the economy. But the framework also requires a 21-day wait between steps, along with benchmarks for health indicators. On Wednesday, Ontario Premier Doug Ford indicated the province could move into Step 2 in a matter of days. In speaking of reopening, the only way to guarantee a return to near normal life is to achieve some form of herd immunity. Herd immunity occurs when enough of a population is immune from a disease to protect those who aren't. But recent reports say full herd immunity is unlikely for COVID-19. Tyler Cheese has more. Tyler?
That's right, Danielle. Here in Toronto and communities all over the province, people are excited to get back to some version of normal. That race you mentioned earlier to get more people vaccinated is all about getting us there. And while herd immunity is the ultimate goal, some scientists now say we're unlikely to reach this benchmark. But it's not all bad news. Researchers in British Columbia have offered a more optimistic outlook in a recent story for academic publication The Conversation. I spoke with one of the authors who said even though COVID is here to stay, there's still hope.
We don't think there'll be in a situation where we can say, oh, we're done with COVID. We won't get this full herd immunity that would be desirable. But there is a practical herd immunity that we think is possible. And I think that what that means is that enough of our population is immune either through, ideally through vaccination, but also it's possible through infection, that it's no longer this dominant thing in our lives that we have to modify our behavior forever.
How do people begin to wrap their heads around this idea of a practical herd immunity versus the full thing?
We believe that, over the next few months in places like Canada, we'll have enough vaccination that we will be able to substantially reopen. And that is what we call practical herd immunity. So it's not the absolute thing that would be ideal, but it's we can go back to a much more normal life. A lot of the social distancing things we don't want to do forever. Like we can't sustain, we can't never have children's birthday parties again. We have to go back in some ways. There's some things we can do to manage it maybe indefinitely, such as contact tracing. Testing and surveillance are all good. But I think the number one way to manage it so that we can get back to a good life is through vaccination.
And how do variants of concern factor into all of this?
The two things we're most worried about with variants of concern are increased transmissibility, which we've already seen with the B.1.1.7 and which we're seeing with the Delta. And that's a problem. That means that to get the same outcome, we need a much higher level of vaccination to get the same level of herd immunity. And then the other problem that we're not seeing, knock wood, we're not seeing too much evidence of yet is that a variant can emerge that can evade the vaccines. We need to, have a plan for what do we do if there's a variant that emerges that the vaccines don't work against.
I think for the average person, at least for people who aren't scientists, there's this kind of vague notion that herd immunity is sort of our end goal. And so how do we start to reframe that idea?
One way I put it is that we will get to herd immunity, practical herd immunity, one way or another. And then we want to do it the safest way possible. And that's through vaccination.
But Danielle, Professor Tupper explained it's difficult to pin down the exact percentage we need to achieve this practical herd immunity. It depends on transmissibility rates and what level of safety measures we're willing to live with indefinitely. Still, he says having 90% of eligible people fully vaccinated should be enough for a return to near normal life, which is still a long way to go, even with the vaccination milestones we've heard about this week. Back to you.
Thank you, Tyler. In local news, the Toronto police have made their largest international drug takedown this week. The investigation found a drug trafficking ring between Mexico, the United States, and Canada. With more, here's Rajesh Dave.
The 6-month-long operation is called Project Brizza, and it intercepted over 1,000 kilograms of cocaine, crystal meth, and marijuana. The huge confiscation was worth just over $60 million, making it the largest ever drug bust in Toronto.
The quantities of illegal street drugs seized in the operation are frankly staggering. Let me be clear, the size and scope of this investigation in terms of drugs seized and potential harm caused has never been seen before in the history of our service.
You're looking at more than a ton of narcotics collected by Toronto police, who worked alongside the Canadian Border Services Agency to carry out the project. On top of the drugs, the operation also salvaged $1 million in cash and 21 vehicles. Police are alleging that between November of last year and this past May, drugs were being transported from Mexico through California and into Canada using modified tractor trailers. Trucks had been using modified hydraulic traps that let substances go undetected and wouldn't set off X-ray scanners. Traps had been designed by Jason Hall of Surrey, BC, known to police as the Trap Maker. Hall ended up turning himself in last week. Project Brizza comes as the opioid crisis in Ontario worsens. Since COVID-19, opioid-related deaths have gone up 38%.
The most important piece that doesn't get talked about are the harms and the carnage that kind of amount of drugs causes, the number of overdoses, the number of people that end up in our emergency rooms.
In total, 20 people have been arrested who collectively face 182 charges. Police are still looking for 2 individuals, Scott McManus and William Nunn. If you can help the investigation, police are asking you contact them or Crime Stoppers. Rajesh Dave, Humber News.
Humber College's industrial design students took home 5 awards at this year's rocket design competition, hosted by the Association of Chartered Industrial Designers of Ontario. A 4th-year Humber student won first place for his creation. Sabrina Daniel has more.
Each year, industrial design students from across the province get a chance to make their inventions come to life. Henry Boy, a 4th-year industrial design student at Humber College, reimagined if it was possible to not only create a product that provides means of transportation, but also one that is portable, can fold, and fit in a medium-sized backpack. Henry proved that it was possible. The 19th annual rocket design competition, hosted by the Association of Chartered Industrial Designers of Ontario, awarded him with first place and the Specialty Rocket Market Ready Award for his product, Vegaboard.
And it's been amazing. I mean, since then I've gotten job offers via email, like all this stuff, like people have been contacting me from companies and it's been crazy.
The competition saw students on Zoom for the 2nd year in a row. Humber, Carleton University, Sheridan College, and Oakhead University's industrial design students were nominated by their faculty to compete by pitching their final year thesis projects for the event.
Acedo, that was the most pleasant experience I had in a while because I got to talk to 2 professionals in the field and defending my design that I worked for over a year.
In total, Humber took home 5 awards at the design competition. Sabrina Danielle, Humber News. Over to you, Danielle.
Thanks, Sabrina. It's National Indigenous History Month when Canada acknowledges the heritage and achievements of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. A Toronto-based Two-Spirit Ojibwe artist marks this year's event with a limited collection of his woodland painting style on canoe paddles. Shifa Nazir has more.
Patrick Hunter, an Ojibwe artist, is taking his art game up a notch by painting Indigenous artwork on canoe paddles. The designs are based on Canadian themes done in Hunter's woodland art style. The artist has tied with Toronto-based Canada Canoe Paddles to release a limited edition Indigenous Paddle series.
There's 4 designs that they wanted to work with, and they made 300 paddles, and each paddle actually has a little number So this one says 1 of 300. So it's a very limited edition series.
Hunter incorporates nature, trees, animals, and other indigenous imagery into his work, especially feathers.
Lots of people love feathers, so it's a good tool for marketing. But at the same time, in my culture, we kind of revere the eagle, and a lot of cultures do. But to us, like they carry our prayers and our good thoughts up to the creator.
Hunter will also paint 2 murals for Humber College later in July.
One is in a library, and one is in like I don't know, not a gallery, but it's like an open space.
Going forward, Hunter hopes to launch his own merchandise brand and support local designers through his business. Shifa Nasir for Humber News.
In Humber-related news, the school semester is fast approaching, which also means sports. But is varsity sports really coming back to Humber in the fall?
Who's faster? We are! Who's stronger? We are! Are we? Hot, 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 hot!
Student athletes have not performed cheering like that in over a year. Many are patiently waiting for the green light to begin practice. Humber Athletics believes there will be sports come fall.
We're prepping that it's going to happen. I think right now we feel like it's going to happen, but obviously so much could change, right?
Sports like cross country, soccer, baseball, golf, and softball normally hold team tryouts near the end of the summer and would be well on their way to begin their season.
That's a home run.
But this year's seasons could be shortened.
We're getting ready as if it will be a year of sports. So we just don't know everything about it, right? So we don't know if every sport will be back. We don't know how long the seasons are going to be.
Humber Athletics has been actively recruiting for various varsity teams and hopes that the OCAA will have contingency plans in place for the reopening stages. That's all for today. I'm Danielle Dupuis. Humber News is written and produced by students in the journalism program. For more coverage, visit our website, humbernews.ca, and follow us on Twitter at humberjrnl. We'll see you again next time.